All right, well, thank you for all attending my session. My name is Ian Reiner, and I'm Customer Success Manager on SSI's product team. And today, the topic that we'll be going through is an innovation that SSI has developed that helps us better understand the impact that digital advertisements have on the real people that receive them. We accomplish this by combining the latest in ad tracking technology with SSI's rich proprietary audience data. So first, we'll set the stage a little bit. Last year was the year that internet advertising spend surpassed that of television, so quite a radical change. What has this shift done? Well, to SSI, what it's done is it's accelerated the need for new ways of understanding how those digital ads are actually impacting real people. Because simply put, as we all know, for marketers to continue investing heavily in digital, or any form of advertising for that matter, they need the tools to be able to measure how effective that spend is. And so how are we doing this today? Many of you probably are. This is done by ad effectiveness surveys, where often you're asking people, have you seen this ad? And then considering them exposed to the advertisement. But we believe this technique provides a significant improvement to those types of projects. All right. So we know that more and more spend is going digital, but digital advertisements have a glaring built-in problem. So one piece of information that we know is that on a global basis, 54% of online advertisements are not actually seen by a person, and that's largely because the ad is not loaded into a viewable part of the screen, or the ad doesn't render for the user. So 54% is a lot. A problem that makes that first problem even worse is that of those ads that are seen, roughly half of them are not seen by the right audience. And without any tools to understand how effective the advertising is, we actually don't know which half was seen by the right audience or what percent was actually seen by an audience at all. So brands and marketers obviously need better data about when their ads run, where they run, who saw them for how long, and ultimately they need to be able to reach out to that audience to be able to talk with them through survey to address these issues. So despite these built-in problems, there we go, the need for active ad effectiveness data means that researchers are, as I said, conducting surveys based on self-reported ad exposure. But as we see here, if in reality half of the ads aren't viewable and about another half aren't viewed by the right people, how actionable and accurate are our survey results really? So we address both of these problems in the latest offering from SSI. And basically we're combining data about how ads interact with people using DMAI's ad tagging technology, and we're combining that with rich data about the audience that SSI collects in our proprietary database. So this, what we call connected data, gives us really an unprecedented view of both ad performance, but also alongside deep, high-quality demographic information about the specific individuals exposed to the ad. So, of course, as a premier panel company, in addition to this type of passive data that we can collect and combine, we can also reach out to these people, conduct fieldwork and surveys to collect custom data that we can't collect any other way, and then, of course, look at the sort of classic metrics that current ad effectiveness surveys look at, which is impact on awareness, brand perceptions, recall, kind of the usual suspects. There we go. There we go. So given it's a very short slot, I will give you the fast run-through of the process we take. So in the first place, online or mobile ads are first tagged. And as soon as those ads are served through the tag, we begin to collect measurements about the advertisement and how it interacted with individuals. So where is it showing up? Can people see it? Has it been viewable for 1 second or no seconds? And then all of that information is put onto a live dashboard that our customers have access to, so they can get this information not after the campaign or between campaigns, literally during the campaign to drive real optimization of their efforts. Then after an SSI panelist is exposed to the ad, that's how we connect demographic information about the real audience and provide that on the dashboard as well. And then we can identify those individuals as a respondent ID, and we can include them in our survey research. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about viewability and why it's such an important concept for digital advertisements. So this graphic helps us understand what I mean when I say some ads load off of the screen. So to use an old term, if below the keyboard of this laptop is what's considered below the fold. And if you're surfing this website and everything you need is up on the top of the screen, you might never scroll and see those advertisements at the bottom. So it's not the fault of an advertiser, it's not the fault of a website, it's just a simple fact of how digital advertisements work today. So what does this really mean? What's the impact? So we took some eMarketer dollars on global spend to really help illustrate that. And we can see that the loss is valued somewhere at $105 billion. That's a staggering amount. So I'll give you an idea of what our dashboard looks like. Again, I mentioned this is available during the campaign, so it can be consumed immediately, and it can drive optimization mid-campaign. So as data is collected across every single impression, that's immediately shown on the dashboard. The dashboard supports advanced filtering, so if you'd like to look at a specific target audience and understand which of your placements or which URL is doing the best job at reaching that target audience, a user of the dashboard has the ability to get that information without having to call somebody. They can use it at their desk and at work. So the dashboard will provide granularity down all the way to URL, which is very enlightening to a lot of brands we work with that today don't understand which specific web pages their ads are showing up. Why is that important? Because brands undertake a lot of effort to ensure that their ads are positioned next to content that doesn't disagree with the brand, it doesn't damage the brand, that there's a happy marriage between the ad itself, the brand, and where that ad is showing up. So by using the dashboard, you can audit, for example, the top 5 URLs that comprised of the most impressions for your campaign, and you can audit those, blacklist the site if it's a site that you don't want your ads showing up on. So getting to our second problem, how do we know that the right people saw our ad? Truly until now, there's really not a lot of information that advertisers can provide to tell us the type of people that their advertisements are going to. And Nielsen estimated that 52% of ads are not reaching the intended audience, which if we use those figures again is $94 billion in spend going to the wrong people. So this is where we use SSI's deep information about panelists. So a benefit or something exclusive to SSI is because we have such a significant sized panel and we are in so many global markets that we have plenty of information to use for creating a weighted representative sample population from which we can model what the population of the ad audience looks like. So moving right along. So again, looking at the dashboard, we can see that there are views that we can see. On the left, we're seeing a total breakout of audience by demographics for the entire campaign. And off to the right, we see an example of how we can isolate a specific placement, a specific URL, a specific channel, or even a format, and understand the audience that ad reached. Okay. So stopping for a moment to take a look at the landscape, how is SSI positioned in the marketplace with this type of product? If we start on the lower left, we're looking at what we would say is a basic advertiser. They can measure exposure, they can prove that they served an advertisement, not a whole lot of else most of the time. If we move upward from there, we get to advertisers that do provide metrics for viewability. They can actually tell you that the ad was in a viewable part of the screen for some amount of time. Still, though, they know very little about the audience. Moving to the right, we get into players that are able to connect audience data to various ways of ad measurement, either basic exposure or improved viewability. SSI, we feel we're in the upper right because, of course, we have achieved viewability measurement. We do have deep information about panelists and frankly, a lot of resources put into making sure that our demographic data is accurate and usable to support our core business. But we can also, as a panel company, reach out, collect custom data that's specific to a campaign that maybe isn't already sitting there in a panel or something. Okay. So talking a little bit about the surveys that we field after a campaign, a lot of what the survey is comprised of looks very similar to the surveys you would do now. So it's asking about impact on perceptions. Are you aware of the brand, aware of an offering? It's very status quo looking. The biggest difference in our new technique is that the sample is identified as exposed or not exposed by measurement instead of self-reported, yes, I saw that ad, or maybe I did or maybe I didn't, who knows. So we're starting off on a much more accurate footing. Then when we ask our survey questions about impact on brand perception, knowing that someone saw the ad 10 times versus knowing that the next person saw it once and the next person didn't see it at all, it helps us not only produce more pronounced survey results, our test and control groups really do respond drastically different, but we find that the results seem more real. So some of the, when someone recalls a message from an ad, it's often very accurate to what the real message actually was. So I'll talk a little bit more about how we do sample selection. Majority of the time we're looking at test and control, as I mentioned. Control is not just anyone else in the panel. The control group is actually measured to have not got the ad. So it's reliably a baseline for a control group as we would want it. The test group we can use different definitions for. Sometimes that's anyone who was exposed to the ad, period. We want to talk to everybody, and then we'll slice later to see if viewability, time in view has an impact, so on. Or maybe we just want to talk to people who viewed the ad for 5 or more seconds. We know that we want to be flexible there because, of course, there are different opinions on how many seconds an ad needs to be viewable before you can internalize it and really cognitively have experienced that ad. So we're nimble in that regard. We can define our test and control groups however it's appropriate. On to things that we can do. In addition to surveys that collect specific data for us, we can also append any data from the SSI database. So that's a long list of demographic data, behavioral data. Any or all of that might be useful in our analysis. And if SSI doesn't have data that we need, we of course support ways that we can include outside data sources. Using a DMP data management platform, we're able to connect to third-party databases, really with the goal of broadening the connected data set to provide obviously more context and value. So this kind of map always looks good and impressive, right? We have already rolled this product out to every market that SSI services with online sample today. So we truly have rolled this out globally all at once. It's ready, live, and very real. And to wrap up, essentially what we're doing is we're taking the active type of data you'd collect from a survey, and we're improving it vastly by combining it with passive data that we collect by measuring the way an ad interacts with a person. Today, we roll this out cross-device. This works in-app, it works with online ads, it works with video ads, and it's also global, as I mentioned. So that is the end with an extra minute, and I think the rest of the time is for questions.